We're coming to you live from the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth inside Wild Wing Cafe University. And as I welcome in Niners head coach Alan Major, a big week for the 49ers this week. Coach, we keep talking about the opportunities the Niners have, and this is a big week of opportunity with two of the top teams in the conference coming to Halton Arena. On Wednesday, we've got Temple, and on Saturday, the Whiteout with the Xavier Musketeers coming to town. And they were preseason 1-2 in the conference. They're not 1-2 right now, but when the season's over, they could be. I mean, they're that good, so it's a big week.
Well, it's a testament to how good the league has gotten. I don't know. I think, Charlotte came in 2005, and without knowing a ton of how the league has been before I got here, I would say I'd be shocked if it's been this deep since, we entered the league. And but that's how I remembered it, when I was, back at Xavier in the early 2000s. I mean, you just – any given night, anybody, the games come down to 1 or 2 possessions, kind of like watching these NFL games or Tom Brady in the press conference. I mean, the games come down to 1 or 2 possessions. Niners, Giants, the ball hits the guy's knee and then he fumbles, and that's it. So that's a testament to how deep in the parity in the conference is, and the fact that those 2 teams picked the winner aren't there now. But you're right, they could easily be by the end.
When you think of the Atlantic 10 Conference, there's been some great basketball played over the years, and there is a lot of depth and parity this season. But in years past, that could be a negative. But I think that the league has gotten so deep now. It's, the end of January, and for fans, they get excited when you talk about bracketology and what Joe Lenardi does, and the other guys now do their own brackets. But there's a lot of credibility to what Joe's been doing for years. And if you look today, there's 4 teams right now that are projected into that field. And that says a lot, because in years past, when you have a league like the A-10 where the teams are bunched up, that sometimes is a negative. You beat yourself up and it hurts you in the end. But maybe this year, because there is so much talent, that might not be the case.
Yeah, you're right. No, absolutely. And as you kind of continue to move on, I mean, it's always interesting to see how that shakes down. And there's 2 ways to look at it. One way is, wow, tough week, tough games. I'm as excited probably about this week as I've been all season, just for that reason, because you get a measuring stick of where you are every single night. And, just sitting here with Lanny, we were going through some of our numbers, and it's just incredible. We shared them with our guys about, basketball, and kind of like football. It's a game of inches. It's a game of percentages. It's just so many little things. It's situational stuff. And as we continue to get better, I think now our guys are starting to understand that thinking the game is equally important as just playing the game. Because a lot of teams will go out and run up and down, they'll play. But the great teams learn how to play and think on the run, and understanding the situation you're in, what's needed at that particular time on either side of the ball. So I think our guys are starting to see the importance of that, and we want to put that into play here this week.
One of the other things, Coach, I think that hurts, and just like what you're talking about, momentum can swing so quickly, and it doesn't have to swing for a long period of time, and there's a lot of damage done depending upon where you are in the game.
Right.
And it's hard to get that back and get it to swing the other way, and it can be off that one shot or that one turnover or that one steal that you didn't get or that they got.
That's it.
So it's hard. When you look at the numbers, you're exactly right. When you're that close, it's the little bitty things that make the difference in coming out. We talked about it before. There's a number of games that, had it been just a little bit swinging your way, it's 4 or 5 games that could have been in the win column.
Right. And some of it's just understanding, all right, here's a striking point where you can really grab this game by the throat. And if you watch basketball, it's really interesting. As you continue to watch it throughout the year, pay attention to the 8-0 run. As you watch games, NBA, college, doesn't matter. Look at the impact that an 8-0 run has on a game, meaning that, let's say you come out of a timeout and it's 14-12. Team goes on an 8-0 run, 22-12. Now, momentum's a funny thing, because if a team decides it goes on another 8-0 run or 10-2 run, now it could be 32-14. Well, if the other team swings around and goes on a 10-2 run after it being, 22-12, now you got to, it's a different deal that way. All of a sudden it's, my math is awful. 22, 24, 22. So an 8-0 run or a 10-2 run or just that little 8-point spurt, it's amazing. Sometimes it's a 14-6 deal, but it's an 8-point difference. And that 8 points can just completely turn a game one way or the other.
When we look at the Bojangles Bow Time segment here on the Coach's Show and looking at the opportunity that presents itself with Temple on Wednesday, here's a team that, always a very athletic team, and they are athletic again this season. They've had their injuries. They've had to play their way through. But they're coming off 2 big wins, a Big 5 win against LaSalle and stepping out of conference play and beating a young but still talented Maryland team this last weekend. So tell us where they stand right now. We know they beat Duke, but they had a couple of losses. Where are they right now?
Well, I think they're going to be full strength. Now, Scooty Randall, I don't know if he's going to come back this season. They don't know. He's had a knee injury, but he's been practicing. I think they may redshirt him. Obviously, they're healthy at the guard spot. Fernandez is full blast. Ramon Moore is terrific, full blast. Wyatt. Those 3 guys really account for huge percentages of their numbers. They're about 44 out of 74 points a game, about 62% of the field goal attempts. They're about 54% of their 3-point attempts. So they, and a huge portion of their free throw attempts as well. I want to say about 52% of their free throw attempts. So those 3 guys are a big chunk of what they do. I hear that they may get Michael Eric back healthy for our game. I'm expecting that. Now, if he doesn't, if he's over in street clothes, then hey, that's one thing. Right. But I always plan on the guy being out there in warm-ups, no matter what you hear. So I think he'll be good to go. We'll see how it goes. But I think they're in a place right now where they feel like they've righted themselves after Duke. I think that was a bit of a wake-up call. In terms of they felt like, wow, that's a big win. But then it's that emotional thing like we talked about. They come off of Duke, and then Dayton beats them. So, but I think they'll be, from what I've seen, I watched them on film today, they're in a good place.
It's interesting. Coach Dunphy has done such a great job taking over for a legend in Coach Chaney. And sometimes there's a little bit of a downward, dip when you have a legend like that steps down. And a lot of folks don't want to take that job.
Right.
You want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaces the guy.
Right.
That's the legend.
Right.
But Phil Dunphy is such a respected coach, especially in the Philadelphia area.
Yep.
But he's one of the guys that can step in and do what he has done, and he's done a great job.
Yeah, I like Fran because he's unassuming. He, I've gotten to meet him on the road recruiting some and spend time with him at the conference meetings, and he's just got an unassuming manner about him. He's kind of like the guy you could sit in a local, tavern with and, just kind of chat it up. And, he's the type of guy that will walk out the door and then the bartender would say, hey, you know who that was? So, but he would never tell you. That's the type of guy he is. So, and his, Chaney had, obviously a tendency to,
you knew who he
was. To let you know he was in the room. But Frank could sneak in the side door and head out the back door, and you never know. So, but he's done a phenomenal job. I think they're sitting right now in 4 straight NCAA appearances. So that speaks for itself.
Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We'd love to hear from you. 704-332-0173. We'll get to the email segments, questions next segment. Coach, what kind of problems do they cause us? Temple, I'm talking about here. Matchup problems or just things that you're looking to address going into the game?
I think just having great awareness of their 3 perimeter guys. I think what makes those perimeter guys unique is you always want the other team's best players to take tough shots. And I think the thing that's unique about these 3 guys, at least 2 of the 3, probably more so Wyatt and Moore, is that they have the ability to both take and make tough shots. Usually you figure if you got an outstretched hand in a guy's face and he's a really good player, a good chance he'll miss it. And these guys, because of they've just got a highly confident one-on-one shot-creating ability, and sometimes they'll end up taking tough shots, and they don't mind. They can make them. So there may be a couple shots made on Wednesday night where we do a great job, and he just somehow tosses it in. So I think their shot-creating ability is unique, and we have to have great awareness of that and limiting their touches, knowing when we can show help and things like that. And I think defensively their length, making sure that we move them around, don't let them sit on the things we're doing, especially if they get Eric back. It's another shot blocker in there. So I think moving the basketball and moving bodies and just being hard to guard will help us Wednesday night.
Let's take our first break right now. We'll come back with those email questions, Coach. This is the Alan Major Show. Again, our phone number is 704-332-0173 from the Wild Wing Cafe University broadcast booth. Again, this is the Wild Wing Cafe Alan Major Show from Signature Sports Group. Welcome back to the Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe University, the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth with Lanny Ford. I'm Matt Swierad alongside Niners head coach Alan Major. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We're here until 8 o'clock, 704-332-0173. We've got some email questions coming up in the Alumni Association email basket. If you want to get a question in for next week, the email address is major49ershow@yahoo.com. Before we get to the email questions, let's go to the Time Warner Cable Bundle Package Stat Stuffer. And we're going to jump past this last game, George Washington, and go back to the game where Chris Braswell had his 31 coach. And we're going to talk to Braz a little bit later on in the show. But talk about what he did in that game. And he was very aggressive, looking for the ball inside and finishing, and had a double-double. And now 19 career double-doubles for this season. And when Chris is playing like that, what makes him so tough?
Well, I think it's a combination of being really aggressive and being patient, because he's seen, I'm running out of hands or fingers to count the number of defenses, between man, zone, double team, trap from the top, trap from the baseline side, wait till you dribble, then go trap. And he's seen it all. So when he's really good, it's a combination of playing from the inside out. Obviously he's proven that he can knock in, that occasional perimeter jumper. But when he makes his foundation the post and plays through the post, because he's underrated as a passer, and people don't give him enough credit for being the passer that he is. So when he's aggressive but yet still patient in terms of getting what he wants, he's not in a rush. When he does those things, he's as good as anybody in this conference.
I want to make a correction first. I said the double-double was the 31. It was not. The double-double was this weekend against George Washington. He had the double-double in points and rebounds. Another game where he had some success inside.
Yeah, it was. And same thing. I mean, they threw a couple of tricks at him, but second half he kind of got some single coverage. And so I just think I like to call it aggressive patience. I mean, you're always – that next catch, you're always one step away from attacking, but you're still able to make the right play. And I heard Doc Rivers say it best one time that, your best players, the guys that you rely on to make plays, have the responsibility to make the right play when they have the ball, because those are usually the guys that a lot of the stuff runs through and a lot of your actions run through, and they have the ball a lot of times when it's, decision-making time throughout the game. I just really thought that was a neat comment, just hearing that from an NBA coach. We tried to, throw that to our guys, is that, if when you drive the ball and you're in the paint, it's your responsibility. You're carrying the mail at that point, and you got to make sure the mail gets to the right mailbox.
Exactly right. We'll go to the Alumni Association emails, and I'm going to start with an easier one, Coach, because I got a feeling Matt's going to let me have my own tonight.
You're going to take them tonight. I want them to still like me tomorrow.
Yeah.
I go from gobble to this.
That's
I'm
right.
going to get the hard emails. This is from Richard Jeffries. He said, I've never seen a team miss more layups or shots so close to the rim than we do. Why do you think that is?
That's a good question. I was hoping he'd email the answer.
No, just a question. You just get the question.
No, I just think, we've had games where we finished them too. I think the other night was unique. Sometimes if you have a team with length and they have shot blockers around the rim, that could be a factor. Sometimes it's you're right there and it doesn't go down. Trust me, I would love to know the answer, but, the other night we just seemed a little bit snake bit by it. Sometimes it gets contagious too, because if the first couple guys convert, then the next 3 or 4 guys could just as easily convert. So I think it gets contagious both ways. But I don't know if there's a hard and fast answer. I just think, some of it's scouting related. Depends on how people play you, and how people, do they help and recover at the rim? Do they have shot blockers and length, things like that? So, but we talked about that in film, and we'll get those opportunities, and we'll cash them in next time.
The next question comes from Kenny, and I'm hoping that's Seavick. That's what I'm going to go with.
Sounds good to me.
And this one's multi-parted, so get ready.
Uh-oh.
Charlotte is ranked 288th in field goal percentage at 40.8%, as far as you're aware. Without the typical coach answer, there were good shots, they just didn't fall. What as a coaching staff can you do to make the shots fall? Is it practice, shot selection, talent, and will this change some with their future recruiting?
Yeah, it was there's probably one answer for all of it. I think it gets back to what we mentioned a while ago, talking about the little things. And little things kind of have an umbrella, meaning sometimes it's execution, sometimes it's just a little bit more patience, sometimes it is shot selection. It's maybe passing up what may seem like a good shot. 2 passes later, you might have a chance for a great shot. And sometimes with youth, not all our guys are young, obviously, but I think what we run into at times is we may feel like a guy wants to get us going in order to get the game going and be the guy that makes that play, that makes that one play that ignites us and gets us going. The intent to want to do that, I love. Now, our thing is sometimes that intent may not fit the situation. So that's, I think, as a team like ours, that's where we go, and that's how we increase our field goal percentage is making sure understand time score situation, what's the best shot for this particular possession, and then making sure that shot we do get is the best one, and that I think over time will creep up our field goal percentage.
One of the things that I've noticed in relation to that is sometimes I think we'll overpass. We'll overthink a situation instead of going ahead and taking the shot,
right,
thinking we can create something else, and it really doesn't work out as well as just taking the shot.
Right. It is possible to overthink it, too, and you may pass up the great one and then end up with a good one. So it does go both ways. But I think a lot of that it's feel, it's playing together. But I think the overall thing is just understanding the little things. And we talked about that today with the guys, just little things. It's, execution, time score situation, shot selection, knowing the situation that we're in and doing what's best in that situation.
Second question from Kenny is, it's obvious Braz needs a fellow big man down low to help take pressure and double teams off. Hindsight being 20/20, but why wasn't a ready to contribute JUCO or someone brought in to maybe help as a low post man?
Well, I think every team with the makeup of our team, you have to look at that. We did look at some guys. I think that what we ran into is some of the guys that we wanted or maybe had a chance to look at. Some of it was academics in terms of being, is this guy going to be a fit? Because you just don't want to bring a guy in just to bring a guy in and he's not going to be successful. A lot of kids, it's what they wanted, just that immediate. JUCO guys usually only have 2 years. And when they look at your roster, they start counting bodies, and they're saying, okay, you've got junior, where do I fit in? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times those guys don't want to be like a third fiddle type of guy. So, honestly, KJ is a reliable guy. Unfortunately, he's had his knee issue that we've kind of had to manage a little bit. That's kind of, just doesn't allow him to practice every day and be that everyday guy that we like. But we always make sure that in recruiting that you want to make sure it's the best guy as opposed to just any guy.
Long-term solution, not short-time fix.
Exactly.
Coach, how about this one from Frank Harmon? And he asked about Perrier. We knew he got hurt on a fast break situation against George Washington. It was a weird play. Something he says always seems to happen bad when we go to GW. Will it affect Perrier this week or the rest of the season? That was a dislocated index finger on his right hand, but he did come back and play.
Yeah, and actually it went back in, as gruesome as that may sound, but it ended up going back in, and just a lot of pain. He's just trying to get the flexibility back, and As a matter of fact, they had him during the game squeezing the towel, just trying to get that, kind of like a range of motion back. But it was kind of an odd deal because I didn't, with his back to us on the breakaway, it was really hard to see how the guy got him. But he must have really, come down with a pretty good tomahawk chop. But, yeah, hopefully that's the last, bad luck we'll have there because that's one of the 3 places. And unfortunately, we didn't get it done this year, but that's one of the 3 places in the league that Charlotte hasn't won.
It's really strange. Sometimes you have a team that you just, for some reason, can't get over the hump and beat in their place, but then have pretty good success against them at our place. And Temple is one of those teams. We've not won there either, but, not to jinx it, we've not lost at home against them. We're 4-0 against them in our building. It's really interesting.
Yeah, let's hope that continues. Yeah, no, it's weird like that. Certain teams, style of play and all that. Maybe got somebody else's number, but yeah, let's hope that continues on Wednesday night, no doubt.
Another one about the George Washington that this is from David Ramsey. What is it about George Washington, the Smith Center, that we always seem to play so ugly? It isn't just the games that, since you've been here, but since they joined the A10, Charlotte overall. They never have much of a crowd, and they always seem to make a thug-type foul. We started so well, then fizzled out. What do they do to stop us?
I think they came back in the second half with a little bit more urgency, especially to start that first, those first 2 segments. I thought defensively in the first half we were, tremendous. I think we held them to 22 points. So, I think they just felt like, hey, we need to come out and make something happen here, and at least try to get a grip back on the game and try to get their crowd involved as well. So to their credit, they came out and did that. They had those first 2, I call them, 4-minute wars, and they were able to win both of them. So to their credit, I think that's what allowed them to have an impact in terms of getting back into the game.
The next one comes from Matt Kalapi. Said, can you talk about the development of Terrence Williams, E. Victor, and Mike Thorne? I know Big Mike may not play this year, but it looks like Terrence is getting more time, and E. Victor, while he's not shooting well, is also on the line.
Yeah, I think those 2 guys have really grown. I think what you learn when you're a freshman is just the speed of the game is so much different. And in high school, you're usually better than – you're probably the best guy on your high school team. Then you're probably better than 8 out of, the best player on 8 out of the 10 teams that you play on your high school schedule. Maybe 4 times a year in high school you run into that game where there's another guy and you got to bring it, But then when you get to college, every guy on the team is legitimate. And so
at least as good as you are.
You're back to square one, yeah. So that's, I think, when early in the year, both those guys went through that initial shock of like, wow, this is like kind of going from driving in the city to driving on the freeway, and I just got my license, So, but now I think things are slowing down for them. They're starting to get more comfortable. The pace of practice and games and all that is worn off. It's like now they feel like they can just play basketball. So those 2 guys are really starting to improve, and I think the games have probably sped up their development because practice is great, but to me, games are the best teacher.
When you have the ability, is it easier for a player such as Terrence Williams and even E. Victor Nickerson as they're getting to the freshman year? We've seen more from Terrence on defense, what he's been doing defensively, doing a great job. 9 rebounds a couple of nights ago. He had a good night also against George Washington.
Yeah.
Is it easier to maybe get your feet wet defensively and let the offense come later?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's when you're young, that's the best way to do it because usually when guys are young, what they want to do is impose their will on the game offensively without sometimes, having that ability yet to against, especially if a team is a good defensive team, But if a guy goes in and he has great energy on D, he gets a rebound, he gets out on the break, he gets a steal on the layup or something. Now, you can relax and say, all right, I'm participating in the game, but I'm not pressing, trying to make something happen on offense. So I think to me, when you're young like that, that's the best way to get into the mix. And Terrence had 7 rebounds on the road against St. Joe's. So he's proven that he can be a good rebounder at his position, a good defender. And I think just his offensive game is just going to follow.
Well, Coach, we got a break to take here. We'll come back with more. Of course, we've got Chris Braswell joining us tonight as well. He's our special player guest from Ortho, Carolina. And the stat stuffer that we had a few moments ago was brought to us by Time Warner Cable. Call Time Warner Cable today and save on a bundle for TV, internet, and phone service. Call 1-800-TW-CABLE. This is the Alan Major Show from Signature Sports Group.
And welcome back to the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth for the Alan Major Show. You can catch a video replay of the show on UNC Charlotte Cable TV Channel 22 on the Time Warner Cable Wednesday and Friday. Tune in to Channel 22 for showtimes.
Well, Lenny, our special player guest today is Niners center Chris Braswell, brought to us by Ortho, Carolina. Ortho, Carolina, you improved. Chris, certainly great to see you again. Hope you're doing well.
Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm great. And big week for you guys this week, isn't it? Got
yes,
Temple
indeed.
on
yes,
Wednesday
indeed.
and Xavier on Saturday.
Indeed, so we do.
These big games are fun, aren't they?
They most definitely are. They most definitely are.
What's it like when you're going up against a team such as, a Temple or a Xavier, where you know coming in that they have the talent certainly to be one of the top teams in the country, and it's a chance for you guys. Coach always talks about opportunities, and it is an opportunity for you guys to really kind of get going again in the right direction against a really talented team.
Every time them lights turn on, it's an opportunity for us to show out and, have fun playing the game that we love. So, playing big teams like Xavier and Temple, it's a big game for us. So.
You like to play back at George Washington, too. You're from Capitol Heights, Maryland.
Right.
And last year, 15-10 against the Colonials up there. You had 17-13 this last Saturday, the 13 a season high in rebounds for you. So what's it like going back up there, getting to play in front of family and friends?
It's a lot of emotion, just to go back home, my hometown, and my mom and not my mom, just not this time because she was sick, but my grandmother and my aunt, my whole basically my family, my best friends, and stuff like that. Just good to see me play in front of their hometown team.
We're glad to hear that your mom's doing a lot better too, and she's back home. That's great to hear. It was a tough game. The outcome wasn't what you guys were hoping for. But what did you take out of that game? Something that you learned from that game that you guys can take and go forward this week.
Just playing with heart. Playing with intensity from that game. We could have played with more intensity. We could have played better as a team. But we are not perfect. So we'll move on to the next step, which is Temple on Wednesday. So we'll just move on from that and learn from our mistakes. So.
I guess that's one of the biggest things is to be able to get the game that you didn't get the result that you wanted out of your head and be able to move on, completely wipe that out, and then move on to the next game down the road because they keep coming every couple of days. You're here in the heart of conference play. And how hard is it to get everybody on the same page to move forward?
It's very hard, when we play on Wednesdays and then we turn around and play on Saturdays. We only have 2 days to prepare for that next game. So it's very tough, having a lot of young dudes on this team. Having so few vets on the team, so it's very hard to get everybody on track, but, we get there.
Being one of the upperclassmen now as a junior, and you just mentioned the young guys of this team, what's it been like for you as you personally try to continue to improve and the team improve, but also mentoring the young guys?
It's I did it at Hargrave for 2 years, and I know Coach Major says, it's my time to shine here, and help these younger guys, build and become more successful, on and off the court, not just basketball, but also in the classroom. So that's what I try to help, not only, some of the freshmen, but, also help Mike because he's playing my position, and just try to get him better for next year and the years to come for him.
Chris, when you're playing down on a low block and you're getting double team, sometimes triple team this year, it draws a lot of attention to you, but also frees things up for your teammates. You're a really good passer of the basketball. You take a lot of pride in that part of your game. But talk about battling the double teams, the triple teams this year, because there is certainly an emphasis defensively on you.
It's very tough, knowing in the conference, I'm the lead scorer so for the, Charlotte 49ers. But, throwing a double team at me from other teams is their way of getting us out of our play. So they're saying if it doesn't come to me and I'm able to kick it out since I'm a good passer, they think that they interrupt me and trap me or whatever. So that opens up for me to pass the ball to JB, Deuce Briscoe, and Dario Green and all them type of guys. So I think it's a challenge. Coach Major throws it at me in practice, so I get used to it. So I won't be turning over the ball. So I think that's very good for him throwing it to me in practice, and it helps me in the game. So.
When you're working up high, a lot of times you're up near the top of the key, and they're working you from a passing situation. Right. How does that work into your play as far as being able to still contribute under the boards, being the big man that you are?
Just trying to adjust, get around from them blocking me out to get the rebound. Like I said, the double team, all that. Just try to work around it in practice and work on it in practice so it helped me as a game.
Chris, we're seeing, too, a lot. I was watching before our game on Saturday, Georgetown, since we were in D.C. playing Rutgers, and how physical it is in the Big East. So we're seeing that now in the Atlantic 10 as we're getting bigger and stronger as well. But the play is pretty physical, and we're not going to get that whistle blown a lot of times where you think it might. You have to battle through it, and sometimes that's a learning process for big guys like yourself, too. And how are you battling through that to get tougher down low?
Two things for you. Conference play, and, battling with the refs is, not the way to go, but, also being on the road. Being on the road is very tough, especially when you're in your opponent's home team arena. So it's very tough to get a call in there. So like when we go to Xavier, it's very hard for us to get a call in there. So, we work on it in practice, not, look for any calls from the coaches or anything like that. So.
You've also improved not just your shooting from the floor, but you're a very good foul shooter. You stepped outside. You've developed that little, 18 to 19-foot jump shot for three. But I think the biggest aspect of the positive side of your shooting is going to the free throw line and making 70% or more of your free throw shots. And you put a lot of work into that, too. But being a big guy and drawing the contact and getting those fouls, it certainly is a benefit for you to be able to shoot free throws.
It does. It helps me, build successfully. When we in practice, we shoot free throws. So Coach Major is counting on us, because they're points. They're free points. There's nobody's guarding us. It's just us there on that free throw line and concentrating. So that's what we work on every day in practice. And when I get fouled, that helps me when I go to the line 9 to 10 times a game. So.
Well, Chris, tell us about the game on Wednesday first with Temple. And the students are back now. What it means, you've been here 3 years now, what it means to play a home game when it's loud. There's a lot of people there behind you. We've had success against Temple in our building, and a lot of that is because, of course, guys like you playing, but the atmosphere when that place is packed, it's a great place to watch a game.
Sold out crowd, very pumped. I know my teammates are very pumped. 2009, we beat them when it was ranked. So, this year we're looking to beat them again. So that'll be a great game on Wednesday.
Chris, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Good luck on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Chris Brasbo's been our guest, Niners junior center from Capitol Heights, Maryland, coming off a double-double this last weekend against George Washington, his 19th as a Charlotte 49er. We're back with more of the Alan Major Show here from the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth. Our phone number 704-332-0173. This is the Alan Major Show from Signature Sports Group. Welcome back to the Alan Major Show here from the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. Still about 15 minutes left of the show if you want to get a call in, 704-332-0173. Coach, we've got some RPI numbers that have come out today, and the Atlantic 10 is still number 7 on the RPI, which is really a solid number. And there's 3 Atlantic 10 teams in the top 50, 9 in the top 100.
Wow.
And really there's 6 in the top 68. So if they just took the top 68 teams for the field of 68, there'd be 6 teams from the A-10 if they did that. But still, those are pretty impressive numbers.
It is. Yeah, I think that this speaks to the depth we talked about at the beginning of the show, that, with our 2 opponents this week, to not be sitting at the top like they were predicted, but, knowing full well that they could be or they might not be. You just never know. But, it's as deep as it's been in a long, long time, no doubt.
And Temple comes in at number 19. So we know we have certainly a tough task in front of us with the Temple Owls. They come in averaging just over 74 points a game. You look at their field goal percentage, and that's a number that jumps out. It's pretty nice at 46 for them anyway. And you talked about some of the challenges that they certainly present to us, and the 3 guys that can step outside and make a lot of shots.
Yeah.
What are some of the other ones?
They defensively, they're pretty sound. I mean, they're not a team that picks you up full court and chases you all over the place. They're solid in their positioning. They got good size inside with Eric and Lee. They provide a little bit of shot blocking and try to crowd you at the rim a little bit. I think what's unique about them, just talking about those three guards again, is they're good mid-range basketball players. And if you watch Temple, they're kind of like before there was a three-point line, you still had to find a way to be a good player, not just right when they put the line in. Now everybody just starts launching it. But these guys are good mid-range, 15-foot, 17-foot pull-up jump shooters. And you don't get that a lot. I think some of that is the old school in Coach Dunphy, the Philly, part of them. And they don't rely on threes. They're capable of making them. Their percentage is very high, but they just don't shoot a ton of them. But those three guys are very good in between, and that's kind of a unique skill. You don't see that a lot in college basketball.
When you look at their two losses, the first one was at home, and it was kind of a surprising one at the time by 10 to the Dayton Flyers. And back then, that's before Dayton had a lot of these conference wins they have right now. They're 4-1, and so, wow, they really had a great day. As we're seeing, they're a pretty good team. So they went in there and they beat them by 10. But they lost to Richmond and lost rather, by a large number to Richmond. And that's a team that has had good days and bad days. When we saw that tape, what did Richmond do to beat them that bad?
Well, they really made shots in the first half. They kind of broke the game open with two things in the first half. They made shots. Ken Littleguard, Anthony made some shots. Brothers knocked in a couple of jumpers, and that kind of gave them some breathing room. The thing that surprised me is that Richmond had 15 second chance points in the first half, which usually that's a good number for the game. Well, they had that in the first half. The Lee kid had gotten hit in a collision at the rim and had to miss a good chunk of the first half. Michael Eric did not play against Richmond. So inside, they were a little bit challenged, and guys like Derek Williams for Richmond, the big kid, Garrett, were allowed to kind of have their way around the basket, especially putbacks. Williams scored with his back to the basket. So those two things, I thought, at one point, I think it was they were up 19 at halftime, 44-25. So it was a combination of those two things, and it was just too much ground to gain in the second half. Richmond held on. I think it got to 12 at one point, and that was about it.
Okay.
Coach, going back to when you were talking about the RPI and the different teams, and, there used to be certain teams that you always counted to be at the top of the pile, and there still are a couple. Mm-hmm. But now the competition has equalized so much more that depending upon the night, anybody can be anybody.
Absolutely.
So it really, the competition level, I think, is what's picked up. It's what's caused all of these teams to bunch up a little bit more.
I agree with you, 100%. 100%. We've seen it already, and with not even being halfway in, we're going to see it some more. And I think, to me, that's exciting, to know that you're in a conference where, you've got to bring it every night. Everybody, a lay-down game is great every now and then. There's some leagues, I'm sure, where there's some teams that can say, all right, we have these guys this weekend, and if we just reasonably go compete, we'll be okay. Well, you can't say that in this league about any team, literally, home or road.
But you don't get better when you do that either.
You don't get better, and you don't know how good you can become. You don't know what your true bar is in terms of getting a measure of where you are and where you go from there. So Temple will come in here full strength Wednesday night. I'm sure the Eric kid will be back, and they'll have everybody ready to go. So, I think, to me, that's the best way you find out what you're made of.
I had a question, and you may not know the answer, because I know during the season, if it's not the next opponent, coaches have the tunnel vision. You're not really watching too much of other games.
Yeah.
But since it is in conference and it was such a big margin, had you heard what happened at Fordham while they got beat by St. Bonaventure? It was over 40 points. And Fordham had been playing pretty tough. It didn't matter who they were playing, but they go to St. Bonnie and just get blown out of the building. Yeah,
I know they had beaten, I want to say, Rhode Island a few days before that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it's possible that could have been an emotional – I haven't seen that game, but it could have been an emotional game. I think sometimes when you have an emotional win, especially if it was close or somebody hits one at the buzzer or something like that, that emotion that next night, having to try to regenerate it, can be an issue. So Now, obviously, the Nicholson kid's really good. I didn't see how many he scored that night, but that can happen. If you have an emotional game and you come back and you try to regenerate again, it can be tough to do.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because they've been playing so well in terms of just getting so close to getting a couple of wins and
big win over Harvard.
Yeah.
Gotten Harvard a few weeks back
and just got taken out to the woodshed by St. Bonaventure. Well, we'll take our last break here on the Alan Major Show. Our phone number again is 704-332-0173. I got about 5 or 6 minutes when we come back to get a question or two in. 704-332-0173. And Niner fans, take advantage of the 10% off your purchase here before and after Niner home games at Wild Wing Cafe University. Just bring your ticket stub or your ticket before the game to Wild Wing Cafe and present it. You'll get 10% off your entire order. Flying over the wing before and after the Niner home games, that 10% offer from Wild Wing Cafe. This is the Alan Major Show from Signature Sports Group. Welcome back to the Alan Major Show here from Wild Wing Cafe University. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. And during the break, patiently standing by is David McGee with a phone call for Coach. David, welcome to the Alan Major Show.
Thank you very much, Matt. And by the way, you do a great job. I enjoy listening to you.
Thank you.
Coach, first of all, my wife, Connie, says hello.
Oh, David, how are you, man?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Listen, when Luke
Vancina. Yes.
When he left to go back to Croatia, what does that do to your overall roster? Are you able to put someone else, a scholarship player, on, or are you left with the number you've got after he left?
Yeah, you can't really bring anybody on mid-season in terms of recruiting because the season has started and then you have to turn in your roster at the beginning of each fall semester. So once you start with that roster, unless someone, and even if someone had transferred in, they would have to sit out, based on the rules. So basically what it did is it just kind of, thinned us at the point guard spot. It's put a little bit more pressure on Perrier in terms of minutes. And it's going to push us to use and Deuce a little bit more at the point guard than we were early on. It kind of, when we had Perrier, Luka, and Deuce, Deuce was kind of our third point guard. Now he's our second one. Now the good thing about that is he's no stranger to it. He played it last year. So, it puts a little bit more pressure on P, but and then, on the silver lining side of it, it's created another opportunity for some other guys like Terrence and Victor to grow a little bit faster and get some minutes too.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the call, David.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
Take care, David. Say hi to Connie.
I will. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Coach, with the point guard position, as you mentioned, Luka, DeMario Mayfield played it in high school. We've seen him handle the ball a little bit. Is he a backup in that position for you, or is he more going to be one of the wing guys?
Could be down the line. We've talked about it. Kind of developing a third guy. It's kind of like a backup quarterback in football. You have to have certain things that you run that guy can execute that he's comfortable with because his skill set is going to be different than the second guy. And the second guy's skill set's different than the first guy. So a lot of times the things that you run, have to fit what that guy's capable of doing. So, certain point guards might be good pick and roll guys. So if they can do that, then you'll try to put them in those situations where they can turn the corner and get to the basket. Other guys may just kind of be, ABC, 1, 2, 3 the ball. Just simple, deliver the mail to guys. So you have to try to come up with a package when those guys are in the game at that position that fits what they can do. So I wouldn't completely rule it out because he's a pretty sure guy with it. You look at his assist turnover ratio. He's done a pretty nice job this year, 40-22. So it's something that it's in the back of our mind that we've talked about. Yeah.
Finally, Coach, we got time for maybe one more question. And since we don't have a show before the Xavier game, have they kind of turned the corner since that little lull they had after the fight with Cincinnati? It seems like they're playing pretty good basketball again.
I think so. It took a little bit because once you get all those guys back, and I think even when you get them back, you got to get them back into the mix. It's one thing to get them back on the floor and back practicing, after a suspension. It's a whole other thing altogether to actually get them back into the rotation. So I know Cincinnati's rebounded from it.
Yeah.
They've gone, I want to say, 9-1, 10-1, something like that since that. But I think once they got those guys back, I think there was still a little bit of a cloud that lingered, but I think they're in good shape now.
Coach, great luck. Good luck on Wednesday and Saturday. We'll see you before the game on Wednesday.
All right. Good seeing you, fellas.
One thing we do want to remind you of, the Keith King BMX Stunt Bike Show will be presented by Lowe's. Will be the halftime show at Wednesday's Temple game. You won't want to miss it. These guys will thrill you with the unreal jumps just like you see on the X Games. And the Allen Major Show is brought to you in part by your Carolina Ford dealers, delivering versatility, unsurpassed power, and best-in-class MPGs. Compromise nothing in the 7-passenger 2012 Ford Explorer. Visit your Carolina Ford dealer, fans of Charlotte 49er basketball. For Matt Swierad, Coach Allen Major and Lanny Ford, have a good evening and good night. We'll see you Wednesday night, Halton Arena.